It began with laughter. Not the good kind, the belly-aching, drink-spilling kind that humans shared in taverns and mess halls, but the smug, nasal laughter of alien dignitaries who thought themselves too clever to ever bleed. The Galactic Concord's assembly chamber echoed with it, thousands of voices rolling over one another like an avalanche of condescension. And at the center of it all stood one lone human, dressed in a simple navy blue uniform, hands politely folded behind his back, smiling like he had just heard the world's most average joke. "They send him," chortled a reptilian ambassador with scales the color of tarnished copper. "One human. No ships, no armies, no defenses. Surely this is performance art." Another voice joined in, silken and smug. "Earth has no fleets, no colonies worth defending, no power. We can crush them by accident if we so choose." The human, Commander Jonathan Hale, politely smiling, eyes twinkling with that annoying human combination of amusement and calculation, tilted his head as though listening to a particularly interesting piece of music. "Ah," he said at last, in a voice so calm it silenced a dozen chuckles at once. "The galaxy is at it again. You mistake kindness for weakness, silence for surrender, and, dare I say it, our hospitality for helplessness." He leaned forward, still smiling. "History suggests that's unhealthy." The laughter returned, louder, though with an edge of uncertainty now. The insectoid speaker from the Threx hive banged its limbs on the table. "Earth is unarmed. Our fleets blot out your skies. What possible resistance could your species mount?" Hale's smile broadened. "I'm terribly sorry. Did you just threaten us? Because where I come from, threats have side effects." He adjusted his cufflinks. The gesture was pointless. The chamber didn't even require formal attire. But it was so unmistakably human, fiddling with unnecessary symbols of order in the face of chaos, that it sent an odd ripple of unease through the room. And then the alarms began. It wasn't planned, not by him. Oh, Earth intelligence had timed it, of course, but Hale had not expected the first sirens to scream so soon. The chamber lights flickered as status screens bloomed into being. Every delegate froze. Unidentified mass detected at outer perimeter. Gravitic distortion, mass displacement field consistent with supercapital vessel. Impossible. No fleet registered, no fleet exists of that tonnage. The chamber dissolved into frantic chatter, alien voices high-pitched and panicked. Hale calmly pulled a tin from his pocket, flipped it open, and popped a small mint into his mouth. He chewed thoughtfully, watching the data scroll across the panicked monitors. "Oh, that'll be her," he said conversationally. "Fashionably late, as always." What is that?" the copper-scaled ambassador croaked, pointing a trembling claw at the display. Hale gave a small shrug. That's a Dreadnought. Specifically, the UNS Leviathan. She doesn't so much arrive as cast a shadow. And she did. The monitors showed it, an abyss of steel and fury tearing itself free from the fabric of hyperspace. 10 kilometers long, bristling with weapons that made suns look nervous, flanked by smaller escorts that, in any other fleet, would themselves have been crown jewels. Gasps rippled through the chamber. "That's," stammered the insectoid. "That's impossible. Humanity has no shipyards for a vessel that size." "Ah," Hale said mildly, "I'm afraid that's classified. But between you and me, we built her in orbit where no one was watching. Quite rude of you not to notice. She's been hiding behind your fleets for months." Clever girl. On the view screens, alien armadas scrambled, reforming defensive lines in orbit above the Concord capital. Their confidence cracked like thin glass as the Leviathan slowly turned its prow toward them. Hale's calm bead chirped. He tapped it. "Leviathan, you're on speaker. Please be polite. We're among friends." The chamber trembled as a voice answered, low and metallic, vibrating through marrow and metal alike. "Acknowledged. Commander. Weapons hot. awaiting instructions. Lovely, Hale said, smiling so wide now that his teeth glinted under the chamber lights. You know, my mother always said diplomacy works best when you back it up with something sharp. Or in this case, something planet-sized. The insectoid shrieked, "You wouldn't dare fire on a Concord world." "Of course not," Hale replied pleasantly. "Not unless provoked. You see, humanity has this quaint cultural quirk. We don't start fights. We just finish them." At that moment, one alien fleet panicked. A cruiser opened fire on the Leviathan. The Dreadnought did not dodge. It did not deflect. It simply absorbed the blow, armor flaring with contained energy. Then, with all the ceremony of a man brushing lint from his coat, the Leviathan replied. One shot. Just one. A beam of white-hot light stitched through the void, slicing the alien cruiser neatly in half. No debris. Just halves. Silence. Hale popped another mint. Now, shall we continue our discussion? Or shall I let my colleague outside make the next point? The chamber dissolved into chaos. Some aliens screamed, others begged, a few demanded immediate surrender from their neighbors as if desperate to escape what had just been unchained. And through it all, Commander Hale smiled politely, as if hosting a tea party. The battle that followed was less a battle and more an art exhibit, humans demonstrating to the galaxy, stroke by stroke, what Predator really meant. The Leviathan didn't just fight, it maneuvered with terrifying grace, predicting enemy fleet vectors as if reading their thoughts. Entire squadrons vanished into her gun's embrace. Others fled, only to find escape routes already cut off by smaller human escorts. And Hale, watching the feeds from the chamber, narrated with the dry wit of a tour guide. "Ah, you'll notice the Leviathan's spinal cannon there. Quite efficient. Only fires once every 30 seconds, but as you can see, 30 seconds is plenty. Oh, look, there goes your flagship. I do hope you had insurance." A reptilian general lunged at him, shrieking. Hale sidestepped politely, letting the alien crash to the floor. "Careful," he said mildly. "Diplomatic immunity is a funny thing. Break it, and my dreadnought outside will be obliged to express disappointment." The alien froze, trembling. By the end, there was no debate. Alien fleets scattered. The capital's skies burned. And in the chamber, delegates signed treaties with shaking claws, mandibles, and tendrils, agreeing to concessions they would have called unthinkable hours before. Hale gathered the datapads with calm efficiency, nodding to each delegate like a host thanking guests for attending brunch. "Splendid cooperation," he said warmly. "You'll find humanity terribly easy to get along with, provided we're treated politely." And then, as the chamber emptied and whispers filled the corridors, the final transmission came through. Hale glanced down at his calm bead, smiled, and spoke aloud. "Understood. Inform Earth that Phase 1 is complete. The galaxy believes the Leviathan is our trump card. Begin deployment of the other 6. The chamber froze. A handful of delegates who hadn't fled yet turned pale, their blood draining, their limbs quivering. Hale smiled, folding his hands behind his back once more. "Oh, did I forget to mention?" he said, voice gentle as a blade sliding home. "That was just the prototype.